Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 56-year-old California resident Jay Johnston is an actor. You might recognize his voice from Bob's Burgers. He also had some bit roles in Arrested Development and I think Anchorman, few other things. Anyway, on January 3rd of 2021, Johnston messaged a friend and he said, quote, "So might I bump into you at the gala affair this Wednesday? Bring food and a toilet." So the friend said no, and then they asked if Johnston was going to the quote-unquote rally, and Johnston replied, quote, "Yes, going to rally, really rally." So 2 days later, Johnston sent text messages to other people who were planning to be in D.C. on the 6th, and he wrote, quote, "The mayor has shut down every business that hasn't already shut down. Bullshit." The following day, Johnston attended Donald Trump's speech at the Ellipse, and then he headed to the Capitol with the mob. And Johnston recorded as he was walking, which showed him passing fencing with area closed signs. Flashbang grenades were heard also in these videos, and he was heard asking someone if, what are those, what are they setting off? He said mortars, what's going on? So a bit later, in this video, Johnston is seen approaching a bike rack that had been turned on its side, and he used it like a ladder to reach the West Plaza of the building. So Johnston then recorded other members of the mob as they were using a massive metal frame Trump sign, like a battering ram against the police. You guys have probably heard me talk about this attack before. The prosecutor calls it the billboard attack. This thing was just huge, and it had these massive metal wheels on it that they said were the size of a man's head. And then the edges were, it was framed in metal. So the edges were very pointy, could have killed an officer easily. So anyway, Johnston was also filming as the police were spraying the crowd with pepper spray. And he was heard telling other people, quote, "They're spraying mace, so watch it." And then also, quote, "They were macing people because they took a wall down." And quote, "Yeah, the guys have riot shields and all that shit." So sometime after that, Johnston recorded members of the mob attacking officers, and they were pushing on barricades, pushing the barricades into the police, trying to break through the police line. So Johnston very well knew that this was not a peaceful protest. This was not just tourists going to see the Capitol. Yet he pushed further onto the Capitol grounds, and he stood near the entrance to the Lower West Terrace tunnel, and he was filming as the mob was assaulting officers there as well. He then moved to the mouth of the tunnel, and he was seen turning around. He was waving for the mob to move closer. So he's inciting people. Come on, let's attack more. So Johnston made a few more hand gestures towards the crowd, and then he was seen himself entering the tunnel. Within a short period of time, Johnston maneuvered through the mob. He made it about halfway to the police line, and then someone handed him a stolen police riot shield. And then others in the mob started yelling for the crowd to organize a, quote, shield wall. You guys might remember that from the videos. So at that point, Johnston moved closer to the police, and he handed his shield to the police, or to the people in front of him, so that they could use it against the officers. Eventually, Johnston was pushed back to the mouth of the tunnel, but he fought his way back inside, and then he was seen taking part in that collective heave-ho push against the police. So this was during that time that Officer Daniel Hodges, as you will recall again from the videos, he was trapped. He was literally being crushed between the mob and a door frame. And the prosecutor shared a photo which appeared to show Johnston looking at Officer Hodges while he was screaming. Because again, you might recall, he's screaming in pain, yelling out. His mouth is bleeding because someone had beat him in the face. So it's unclear to whom Johnston was referring, but the government obtained a text message that he had sent later to a friend. And Johnston said that he saw a man getting crushed in the tunnel. So possibly Officer Hodges. So anyway, a while after this heave-ho push, after Officer Hodges is being crushed to death, or almost to death, I should say, he wasn't killed, luckily, but Johnston was seen exiting the tunnel. According to the videos, though, on his phone, he remained on the Capitol grounds until well after 5 p.m. So this is after it became dark, after they brought in other officers, after they were calling for a curfew. I think it was after they called for the curfew in D.C. So anyway, during that time, he was filming more people trying to smash a Capitol window. He filmed violent attacks on the police. His videos show members of the mob punching, kicking, stomping on officers. They also show Trump's terrorists hacking at officers, striking them with various objects. You know, they mention pipes, poles, metal crutches, for just to name a few. They're seen spraying officers with chemicals. He videotaped people dragging people out of the tunnel into the violent mob, you know, where they were further attacked. So again, he knew this was bad. He knew, he heard everything that was going on. He admitted to another rioter during this time, quote, "They had the line right here and we pushed through that." Yet, following the Capitol attack, Johnston sent text messages to his friends claiming that the police were the aggressors and that the media was misrepresenting and twisting the facts. He also blamed, of course, quote unquote, Antifa-like instigators. And then, as usual, as you know, the days went by, it seems like Johnston totally fell for the right-wing conspiracy theories and excuses, because he started to push the false narrative that January 6th was a trap and that he and others were duped into attacking our nation's capital. So he did also, though, at one point admit in one text message, quote, "I did take part in the hysteria that erupted." And, quote, "We fought the coppers." I mean, did they hold a gun to your head? Did they make you fight the coppers? He also, as you'd expect from a MAGA man, used a racial slur to describe a black man who he claimed stole a vendor's or stole some stuff from a vendor that was at the event. So the FBI searched Johnston's home in June of 2021, and when they seized his cell phone, Johnston claimed that the phone wasn't his. So he used the excuse that 13-year-olds use when they get caught with weed. You know, I'm holding it for a friend. It's not mine. And then he said, "Oh, yeah, I'm not going to give you the phone number to that phone." So odd, isn't it, that Johnston wouldn't be eager to turn over his phone and all of his so-called evidence to show that the media was twisting the truth about January 6th? I mean, he kept saying in messages that he was there, he knew the truth. Why didn't you want to turn that over, Jay? Why didn't you want to show your work? Why wouldn't you want to prove that it wasn't as violent as the media claimed? Anyway, Johnston was arrested on June 7th of 2023, and he was charged with civil disorder, entering a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a restricted building or grounds, and impeding passage on Capitol grounds. In July of 2024, Johnston pleaded guilty to the felony charge of civil disorder, and he faced up to 5 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. However, the government requested only 18 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. At his sentencing hearing, Johnston asked for leniency, and he said that after his arrest, he was fired. He was fired as a voice actor on Bob's Burgers, and he hasn't been able to land a new job since his arrest. According to his attorney, he's been making a living as a handyman. And Johnston also told the judge that he regretted making it, quote, more difficult for the police to do their job on January 6th. So Trump appointed U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols presided over this case, and he wasn't as sympathetic as I thought he'd be. Judge Nichols mentioned Johnston's lack of remorse, and he said, quote, "His conduct on January 6th was quite problematic, reprehensible, really." So in the end, the judge sentenced Johnston to 1 year and 1 day in prison, 2 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. And for those who question why 1 year and 1 day, that sentence allows Johnston to earn early release. So if he exhibits good behavior while he's locked up, he can get out potentially early for good behavior. Overall, I think this was a decent sentence, especially if you compare it to others that I've seen. And we'll see what Trump decides to do, right? I mean, he's supposedly reconsidering the blanket pardons. He says he's going to look at January 6 convicts on a case-by-case basis to see who should get a pass. This might be one because he wasn't hit with violence, or an assault charge, I should say, for attacking the police. So we'll see. I'll let you all know. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Please donate if you possibly can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.